Will Africa's growth really benefit Africans? And will this economic boom translate into a perceptible shift in how people live their lives? So whilst Africa is on the cusp of realizing her potential, realizing her greatness, the extent to which she realizes her potential will depend on a number of issues. Firstly, the enabling policies that governments put into place to attract the right kind of investment. And I use the word right deliberately because they can be wrong kinds of investments, and I think currently we're seeing investments that don't do much for Africa. Secondly, the extent to which these policies take the issue of sustainability into account. And finally, how the implementation of these policies is governed.
We need to look at our populations and identify where is the biggest problem. And I think the biggest challenge we face in Africa is in the issue of agriculture. 80% of Africans depend on agriculture, yet the continent invests less than 4% in this sector. And my thesis is that in order to get sustainability, our continent must really strategically think about investing in agriculture. This is a game changer. And what has happened over the years, governments have made commitments, and I know that Professor Matola is going to be talking about the kind of commitments. But the truth of the matter, just like the Honorable Prime Minister was saying, is that the issue, the crux of the matter is the implementation of programs.
Our sustainability depends on thinking out of the box on what we do about skills development, training, and indeed the future generations.
In terms of sustainability, I think this is it's absolutely crucial. It's an existential issue for the world. Sustainable growth rather than destructive growth. And so one kind of small initiative I tried to take in my Nation Branding book was to introduce the fact that the Prime Minister mentioned, you can pick and choose your indexes. Don't just sit there and be indexed by pre-existing indexes, which tend to just be a reflection of the status quo and the power system that prevails. We need to make sure that we've got proper governance within ourselves, but we also encourage appropriate governance within the companies that come to us. At the moment, the investments in our continent are driven by other countries' needs, by other investors' needs, often to extract resources. Infrastructure comes in for the purpose of moving those resources to our borders and to other countries. How do we make sure that those investments are to our benefit, that it has a sustainable impact on our creation, on the environment, on developing local businesses and so on? And we all know the advantages that we've got in the continent. But to set the conditions to meet our needs, we have to make sure that proper governance is in place to help direct them. We need to look at things like regional integration. It's one thing to talk about large markets and large numbers in the middle class and growing youth, but if we've got barriers across our borders, we don't have open trade, we don't deal with ourselves as peers and deal with corporate governments across countries, we're not going to address them.
I think to start, we need to realize that on the continent, the different countries are in different stages of development. And so if we're going to talk about the issue of sustainability, it's important that we recognize that there is a great need to move beyond, for example, reliance on things such as aid. Because in last year's forum, we talked about this issue of moving beyond aid and recognizing the limitations that aid places on sustainable development. So I think that's the first thing that we probably need to look at. And how do we do that? Obviously, for sustainable growth and development, it means that we need to put in place the right governance infrastructure, as has been said. And it's governance infrastructure in terms of institutions, but also in terms of the policies that we put in place. Thirdly, I think it's a question of a co-created destiny. It's important that we not only look internally for our own homegrown solutions, but that we start to co-create the destiny and the kind of future that we as Africans would like to see.